Hey guys, it's Dr. May. How's it going? Well, this video is meant for you if you're going through a hard time today. So if you're really struggling and you're feeling down, I tried to put all the skills together that we tend to recommend when you're really having a tough time. So I hope this will help you get through today if you're struggling, okay? So I call this the ultimate self-care package, okay? So it's really putting together all the stuff that I believe would help, in addition to some other DBT skills. These are some of the main ones I would personally recommend, okay? So again, if you're struggling with painful emotions and you feel like you're losing hope or you're going down that dark hole, there's always a way out. It feels like it's gonna be forever. It feels like, I'm gonna be trapped in this feeling and I can't even see the light. But we have to remember that all feelings are impermanent, just like all situations and everything's impermanent. And there's always going to be a way to move through it. All right. So I hope these skills today will help you move through. Okay. So the first thing to do is to validate yourself. So validation is very similar to empathy. It's about tuning in and recognizing what's going on with you, observing it, and reminding yourself why it makes sense, that your feelings didn't come from nowhere, that you're probably reacting to something that really hurt you. And maybe it hurts extra because of things you've been through in the past or through a combination of things that are going on now, and it makes sense that you would be upset. So it's important to recognize that in yourself and let yourself know that you understand. Even if there's nobody out there to do it for you right now, you could still always give that gift to yourself. And to be as non-judgmental and compassionate as you can. So this isn't the time to beat yourself up and make things worse. It's the time to pay attention to yourself and validate yourself, okay? And also, as part of that process, given everything that's going on, given the circumstances, given your emotions, given your mental illness if you have one, given your current level of skills, remember, you're always doing the best you can. We could always strive to do better, but in this moment, just try to validate that, I'm trying, okay? And that sometimes that mindset helps a lot. Practice self-acceptance. So in DBT, we talk about radical acceptance, and we could direct that radical acceptance toward ourselves, the parts of ourselves, our emotions, our thoughts, and our experiences. And that's really important. So it's also the antidote to shaming and beating ourselves up. So try to radically accept yourself and what you're going through right now, even if it's hard, even if you don't really like it, even if you wish it was different, you could still tune in and accept that this is what's happening to me right now, okay? And despite all those things, deep down, I'm already enough. I'm already okay just the way I am, even if I'm struggling. And there might even be things I can gain and learn from this struggle, even if it's not today. So just accept that it's part of my human experience. And I'm going to try to, be kind to myself because this is hard. Okay. And it's important to remember with the self-acceptance that even if you don't like every part of yourself or every aspect of your experience, you can try to accept and open your eyes to and recognize and understand all the different aspects of your experience. So it's kind of like imagining yourself like a pie chart, right? And sometimes, let's say certain emotions are a big chunk of that pie chart, right? And maybe other ones feel smaller, or there's some parts of that pie chart that I like, and there's some parts that I don't like, and there's some parts that are kind, and there's some parts that are mean, and there's some parts that are, shameful, and there's some parts that are joyful, right? There's all different aspects of ourselves. And it's all part of who we are, and every ingredient is necessary to make us ourselves. And so we could practice accepting that whole picture, okay? And it takes some time, and sometimes it's just a matter of telling ourselves it's okay. I don't like it, but it's okay. It can be there for now. I accept it. All right. And it's important to know, thinking about that pie chart, that it's still possible to accept ourselves, even if we made mistakes. We made big mistakes. We acted against our values. We relapsed in some way. We made progress and then we slid back and messed up again. We could accept ourselves even if we have a mental illness or borderline personality disorder or an addiction or some criminal history. It doesn't, it's all part of the picture. It's okay. And it's okay. We could accept ourselves if our past was really difficult, if we had a painful childhood, if we had trauma. We could accept ourselves if we had people in our life that don't like us or love us, that were mean to us. Even if they were mean to us, we could still be kind to ourselves. We don't have to continue that cycle of treating ourselves the way other people treated us. We could always make the choice to be kinder to ourselves than anyone ever was. And, that's an important thing to realize. We can accept ourselves even if we feel weak or vulnerable right now. Sometimes we are so scared of our vulnerability and uncertainty that we're mean to it, that we shun it, but we can allow that part to be there too. We could accept ourselves even if we don't have the answers right now. Even if I don't know what to do, even if I don't know what's going to happen, I could still accept myself. And so all this is possible, and we could write it down if it's hard to keep it in our head, reminding ourselves of all the parts of ourselves that are there and try to accept them, even if it's with the word, it's okay, instead of I accept. Because sometimes the I accept is like, I accept it, hurry up and get better, right? But pure acceptance is just allowing it, right? And so going with the mistakes part, because this is the hard part, right? Especially if we messed up in some way. We could twist around and remind ourselves that I'm blessed to be imperfect. It's part of who I'm supposed to be. It's part of my destiny that I'm going to make mistakes, because that's the only way I'm going to learn. I have to go through difficult things and screw up in order to gain insights that I never would have gained in another way. So it's part of my journey, and it's supposed to be there. Okay. And we're human because we're imperfect, right? Everybody's imperfect, even if on the outside they look perfect, even if on social media they look beautiful or they look like they have a great life. That's just the outside. You can't compare your insides to other people's outsides, because everybody has something, right? And when we remind ourselves of that, it makes us feel less alone, right? Because we're certainly not the only ones who are messed up right now, okay? So just keep thinking of like, what's the lesson here that I can learn? How could I do better the next time? What's an insight about myself or other people that I can gain? What's it telling me about life? How could it help me put things into perspective? Maybe there's certain things that will come to you about this situation, even if it's not today, because today you're too dysregulated to even think about it, right? But all of this can be useful if you allow it to be. Okay, so stick with it, and it's all part of your journey. Okay, and I know the F word is a little hard, but try to forgive yourself, because otherwise, if you continue to ruminate and you continue to resent yourself and you continue to beat yourself up, you're going to keep yourself stuck, and it's going to be so much harder to live the life you're hoping to live, right? And it's okay to let yourself free, so long as you learn the lesson. You don't want to forget about it and not learn the lesson and repeat it. You want to learn from it, but review it only enough so that you learn from it, not so that you continue to torture yourself, okay? The punishment that you dole out to yourself is going to get in the way of you learning the lesson. So it's important to get the most out of this situation if it had to happen anyway, right? And forgiving yourself helps you to move on. And just like, we have to practice forgiving others and hope others forgive us, we also have to work on forgiving ourselves. And that's part of our growth too, okay? Offering ourselves compassion. Now, we throw the word compassion around a lot, but there's actually specific steps for self-compassion. So one of them is to tune in and be mindful, right? Try to drop below your thoughts and just tune into what you're feeling right now, right? What's going on in my body as I'm experiencing this tough time? Do I have different areas of warmth or tingling or pulsating? Do I feel heat in certain parts of my body? Do I feel emptiness? What do I feel? And just be with that sensation mindfully, okay? Be mindful of the thoughts that are floating in and out of your mind, knowing that you don't have to believe them. It's just like a judgment show that you could sit back and watch, okay? You could also offer yourself self-kindness, right? So like we were saying before, related to the acceptance, related to validation, How could I be kind to myself in this moment of suffering? So you recognize that you're suffering and then try to be good to yourself, because that's what we would do to someone else if they were suffering, right? And also the connectedness, remembering that you're not alone. You might feel alone, but just because you feel alone, it doesn't mean you are alone, right? It's a million people right now feeling just as bad as you're feeling. And it's a human experience to feel suffering, right? And it just makes you part of the human race to suffer. And so you can remind yourself that I'm just interconnected with everybody and I'm not alone in this suffering, okay? And that's kind of how you offer yourself compassion, right? And sometimes we have to deliberately step back and take a self-compassion break, as it kind of says on this cartoon, right? Stop the action for a little while and just do some of these things. Offer yourself some of these compassions, okay? There's also some nice compassion meditations out there, self-compassion meditation, and you could always listen to a script and it can kind of get you focused on it if it's hard to do it yourself, okay? Okay, so I'm going to also say self-parent, okay? So imagine the healthy adult part of yourself caring for the suffering parts of yourself, okay? Because there's always that part, that wise mind part of you inside that's capable of caring for the other parts of yourself that are suffering, right? So just imagine a picture like this, like that I have on the screen, right? That the mother part of yourself, let's say, or the father part is caring for the little parts that are suffering. Okay, so get that image going and it will help. So imagine taking care of your struggling parts like a mother taking care of a baby, right? And if a mother was taking care of a baby, she'd be attentive to the baby and the baby's needs. What does the baby need from me? Does he need cuddling? Does he need food? Does he need laughter? Does he need rest? What does the baby need? And try to listen to what those needs are. Does it need, to get attention? Does it need to be heard? Right? What are the parts of myself really need? And try to listen, okay? Acting out is just like a flawed way of trying to get our needs met. So if we tune into what the needs are beneath that, it could help a lot, right? And we may not be used to thinking about it that way, but that's one of the exercises we could try. And just like a mother would take care of a baby, we have to be kind, loving, and accepting toward the suffering parts of ourselves, right? So if the baby was crying, the mother would try to soothe the baby, right? So we got to soothe those parts of ourselves that are suffering and crying, right? As if they're children in pain. We could try to love ourselves while we're suffering, just like a mother would love her baby while he's suffering. And we can love ourselves, even if we're resisting this, even if we're afraid of our emotions, even if we want this to stop right now, even if we can't stand it, even if we want to give up, we can still love those parts of ourselves that are feeling that way. Okay, so all this is possible, and it's a gift we can give ourselves. Okay, so another thing too is we need to watch the way we're talking to ourselves, right? If we're tuning in mindfully, we could kind of recognize what kind of thoughts are going through our mind. And we could step back and realize that they're just thoughts. Maybe they're negative thoughts, most likely, right? But we always have the chance to think differently and to try to talk to ourselves kindly in the way that maybe a caring person has talked to us in the past. So if you kind of conjure up maybe a supportive person in your life, past or present, and what they would say to you at a time like this, try to say that same stuff to yourself, right? Cheerlead yourself, encourage yourself. Remind yourself this is going to pass. Maybe there's positive affirmations you've heard that are helpful to you in particular. Maybe collect those memes and save them on your phone, or just write them down so you have them really clear, especially if your mind feels scattered, okay? And we could change, the way we're thinking about it, and that could change the way we're feeling about it, right? So let's look at this chart. So I found this chart online. So instead of saying, I'm so dumb, we can say, whoops, I made a mistake, right? It lightens it up a little bit. No one likes me. Maybe it becomes, well, I like me, or I like certain parts of me, or I'm okay. Well, some people like me. There's other ways to balance it out so it's a little more fair. Or I'm a bad person, right? Sometimes we feel like a bad person, but it doesn't mean we are a bad person, right? Maybe we did something we don't like. Maybe I did something bad, but doesn't mean at the core I'm bad, right? And if I did something bad, I could correct it and do something different the next time. I give up, I'll never be able to do this. right? It might feel that way. Sometimes when we're really emotional, it feels like we're not going to get out of this, right? However, we could think things like, this is really hard, but I'm going to keep trying, right? Sometimes it will pass. I never get anything right could turn out to, I haven't figured it out yet, right? Like sometimes the power of yet could be really helpful. Just because you couldn't think of the answer right now today doesn't mean you're not going to find your way out of it later, or someone will come along to help you with that, right? So give yourself that possibility of hope. I'm not good enough, right? Could be like, maybe I don't feel good enough, but I know I'm good enough. Deep down, just because I'm a human being, I'm okay. I'm worthy. You know, it's okay for me to start to feel better. I don't have to keep punishing myself. Okay. So we have to recognize those, you know, negative thinking and try to make it more realistic. It doesn't have to be like fake positive, like, hey, I'm a great person. Like you may not really feel that right now, right? But maybe it's like, I'm not a terrible person, but I guess I'm okay, right? It could be realistic enough that it's, you know, shifting the tone of it, right? Okay, so another thing is that what we're talking about before is some of the mental work, some of the emotional work, okay? But if we don't engage in positive self-caring actions, it's going to be really hard to fully heal, right? If you are trying to think positive, but then you're doing negative things toward yourself, it's kind of contradicting the work you're trying to do mentally, right? So your thoughts need to translate into actions. And sometimes if you do good things for yourself, it starts to communicate to your brain that I'm worth, you know, being taken care of, right? So if you do self-care and do those positive self-caring activities, you start to feel like maybe I'm worth being taken care of. See how that works? Like the action feeds back to your feeling, okay? All right, so remind yourself of the self-soothing skill from DBT, okay? So instead of punishing yourself or being harsh on your senses, try to be kind to yourself. Choose activities that are soothing to your senses, right? Look at things that are pleasant to you, engage in positive, you know, soothing touch, listen to music that makes you feel good, eat things that make you feel, that are healthy and make you feel better, not in a compulsive way. Like if you're a binge eater, be careful about this one. And possibly scents, which is essential oils, which have some healing properties. So whatever works for you, try to soothe yourself. Take those actions that make you feel cared for, right? So another thing is, and whatever this means for you, try to engage in positive, nourishing activities. Do something today that makes you feel a little bit better or taken care of, right? So I listed a bunch of things at the bottom, but obviously there's a million things that could be on this list that I didn't put down. Take care of your body by exercising it, you know, do something active, and that could burn off the stress and make you feel better about yourself. Journal, maybe even journal in a positive way, like to kind of like answer some questions to gain insight or learn lessons, or, you know, maybe do certain exercises that are helpful for you that you've seen, positive affirmations, write down. Express your feelings using art. You know, sometimes instead of bottling it up, we could artistically express it, and that makes us feel more validated. Listening to music, you know, that kind of uplifts us or makes us feel more comforted. Maybe we'll do things like we like to cook, or there's something that makes us feel good, like helping other people, you know, takes our mind off ourselves when we help others. Maybe getting our mind straight by reading inspirational books. This definitely helps me. Like, you know, if you read things that are more positive or more uplifting, it kind of shifts your mindset, you know, or listen to podcasts or videos that are kind of uplifting, right? With people that you kind of like to listen to. Take a bath or a shower, it just shifts everything. Sometimes you feel clean and better afterwards. Meditation and yoga and mindfulness, of course. Praying, if you're a prayerful kind of a person. Spending time in nature, just going outside, getting that change of scenery. Maybe learning something new, right? You're trying to gain something from this situation, or like pursuing an area of study that's important to you, right? So doing these things is communicating back to you that I'm worth it. Okay, that I'm worth doing nice things for. And it helps you move past that mistake that you made or whatever the difficulty is, okay? And finally, no matter what, even if you messed up, even if you feel like a bad person, even if you acted against your values, you're still worthy of connection just because you're a human being. And so try not to hide out in shame. try to reach out to someone you trust if you can. And sometimes that really helps to diffuse the situation, right? It helps to remind you you're not alone. The support could be a relief, and it gets you out of your head a little bit. So if there is someone you trust, feel free to reach out because it's really important. Don't be too ashamed to do it, okay? And that's about it for now. I mean, obviously, I would add on a lot of other distress tolerance skills, improve the moment's great, and distract with acceptance and some other things, but I didn't want to repeat all the DBT skills here. But, do what you got to do to take care of yourself and try to forgive and, gain what you can. Okay, so hang in there, guys. I know you can do this. All right. All right. Take care and see you next time.